Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on when you are tuning in. My name is Jonathan Torres-Herrera, and you are watching or listening to the JTH show. Today, we're going to talk about Snowflake protesters and feminist movement in Mexico. But first, roll the intro. Okay, so before we get started, I want to remind everybody that you can continue supporting the show by downloading any of the episodes, including today's episode, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or Radio Public. You can also visit thejthshow.com to check out any of the clips that we might show on YouTube. On there, they'll be uncensored because, of course, on YouTube, we have to censor them because of their terms of use. But other than that, let's get started. So we're going to get started today with protesters that are snowflakes or snowflake protesters. So what do I mean by that? Before anybody, that's watching the show, that's either on the left or on the right, tell me you're probably talking about them. And of them, of course, the opposing side. And let me stop you there. I'm actually not. I'm talking about, in general, protesters or, demonstrators that show up to these events and get triggered. Right? Get triggered over something the other side does. Those are the snowflakes in my eyes. Okay? In my eyes, I don't qualify anybody as a quote unquote snowflake because of your political stance. I don't. And for us to really understand what I'm talking about, let's go to a clip that I have prepared for you today. Roll it.
Turn it off! Hey, you guys shouldn't even be here, bud. I'll you off. Hey. Get up, mother. Get up!
Okay, so that clip that you guys just saw there is from a protester, Jason Lara, according to cos.net, which is a consequence of sound.net. And they put on there that, Mr. Lara essentially punched the protester on the other side, right, of whatever he was there for. And apparently he was there for Trump 2020. And, he decided to punch him because the individual was playing the song D or FDT. Can't really say that, what it stands for here, but you might get it. You might actually have already heard it, right? Which is essentially F Donald Trump. It's, I guess, rapped or sang or however you want to put it by YG, an artist, YG. And, people often use that song when they are trying to, again, trigger the other side, right? When they're trying to, more than anything, be a nuisance. And here's the thing. You're going to have individuals, in my opinion, that are out there just trying to see what reaction they can get out of people. They're not really there to protest anything. They probably find out, in their cities that, this is going to go down, this kind of protest, or even this kind of demonstration, or, a support rally. Right? And, they may get a point to go out there and find ways to trigger people in those rallies, demonstrations, or whatnot. And at the end of the day, what are they trying to do? They're trying to get a viral clip, right? They're trying to get likes on Instagram or Facebook. And unfortunately, these kind of events end up happening, right? These kind of situations end up developing where you have individuals that take it further. And, that further usually includes putting your hands on someone, which is ridiculous. At that point, in my eyes, you become a snowflake. Why? Because here's the thing. What has happened to the world where, you can go out, have an opinion, in fact, even be a nuisance, where, you're really not hurting anybody. Yeah, you are being disrespectful. Absolutely. But, it has to get to the point where we put our hands on each other. What kind of world are we living in where that is commonly, more and more commonly actually, normal? That is just something that comes to your mind. I've come to the conclusion that individuals like these typically have anger issues, self-esteem issues, and more importantly, have a very limited ability to use a vocabulary, whether that be English and Spanish or whatever language, right? They don't know how to really express themselves. And I'm not trying to get fancy here and say that they're not articulate and, no. You can have, a basic understanding of a language and still, right? And try to use it and come out winning in the sense of getting your point across. And then when people refuse to understand you, refuse to hear you, whatever happened to walking away, ignoring them? You're not going to get very far with someone that is either yelling or not letting you speak, not letting you have a turn, right? And, at that point, what is wrong with you walking away? I know what it is. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I know what it is. It comes down to people feeling embarrassed. They already made a fool out of themselves. And they start by threatening, right? By sending threats out there very loudly so other people can hear. And at that point, they cannot back down. They back down and they'll look dumb, right? And what happens, and at least that's what they feel, right? They have to come through with what they just said they would do if said person didn't do what they told them to do. And at that point, you get individuals that end up going viral, such as this moron, and they end up doing a disservice to whatever demonstration or rally or whatever they're doing out there, right? You lose people very, very quickly because once it comes down to violence, once it comes down to you literally putting your hands on someone else, I to this day don't see how anybody can back an individual like that. It's the same thing that I've said about the BLM movement, right? When it gets to being violent, when it gets to the point where you're endangering people's lives, you lose me. I'm done supporting you. You might have the best intentions in the world to represent a movement that everybody should be aware of and everybody should back. But once you get to the point that you decide to stop using your words, you're unreasonable, and you get violent, I'm done. And I think that's what happens in most cases. And in this case, it would be with the pro-Trump rally what they were having, or even if it was not a big rally, right? Even if they were just out and there were, a couple people with signs saying, Trump 2020, or maybe they heard the anti-Trumpers, you can say, and then they passed by because clearly they were in some type of gas station or at least somewhere near. And this guy decided, what are they saying about Trump? What are they saying about my hero? And he decides to get off his vehicle and go and hit the guy. It's ridiculous, right? And unfortunately, this is not just secluded to the U.S. This happens all over the world, right? And in fact, this happens for things as dumb as pizza. I'm like, what are you talking about, pizza? Yeah, let's roll that clip.
Por favor, güey. Yo te ubico, pendejo. No sé qué viste a la Sánchez. Tú agarrar, pendejo. Véndemela bien, güey. No hay pedo, güey. ¿Por qué no lo principio me la pidió? ¡Pendejo! ¡Esta pendeja y aquella pendeja! ¡Me cagaron el palo, pendejo! Y yo vine a eso, ¿sabes por qué, güey? Porque no traigo tapabocas. Llévatelo. Llévatelo. No traigo nada contigo, güey. Eres compa de mi compa Pepe y de José, güey. No mames, güey, véndeme la pinche pizza, güey. Güey, es para mis hijas. Baja a mis niñas del pinche carro, güey. Es para mis niñas, pendejo. A mí me vale verga tu pizza, güey. A mí me vale verga tu pizza. ¡Cuatro, güey! ¡Puta madre!
Okay, so this individual, clearly, right? We don't have to even understand what's happening. For those of you guys that are watching in English and really don't understand Spanish, I mean, you can see there's a guy in Little Caesars who decided to get physical, violent over pizza. I mean, really, that's what it came down to. He kept repeating, sell me the pizza, dude, you know, in Spanish, right? It shows how pathetic, you know, ill-educated the guy, you know, he is, period. When it comes down to allegedly someone in the store telling him, hey, please use, you know, a mouth covering or whatever, right? Like, you know, it's happening right now all over the world. It's not like he's exempt from it. No. They told him, hey, cubrebocas, you know, which is, again, like the mouth thing, right? Everybody's using the cover thing. Okay. And he gets upset over it. Now, there's a whole response he did, right? He had the audacity to go out and do a response. I'm not even going to show you. You can Google it yourself. It's embarrassing that he went out and even thought about, you know, what would be a good idea that after I made this scandal and it went viral, I'm going to go ahead and do, I think it was like a minute or two response video on explaining why I had to get violent. And at the end of the day, it came down to, hey, the pizza people, the people behind the counter were very mean. And then I'm like, whatever. I went out. I told my buddy to go get the pizza, and then they wouldn't sell them the pizza either. Now, we can go all day long as to whether he's right, they're right. And, you know, it's true. A lot of times when you go to many different, you know, places, because that's one of the comments that I saw in some of these videos. Yeah, a lot of the times those people are very mean and they're nasty. That's not what I'm going for here. That's not what the point, you know, or at least why I showed you the video. It's to give you another example, of course, of another individual who doesn't get his way and, like a child, throws a tantrum. That's a tantrum. And then you know what the saddest part is? Two things. One is that he literally tells his friend, hey, go get the gun. What is that really going to do? What are you going for here? So now on top of assault, now you want to bring on assault with a deadly weapon. And at the end, God forbid, if it would have gone to the point of somebody getting shot, put it this way, maybe even him, what they would have said? Oh, he was such an angel. He was such a good person. He had, you know, a misstep. I mean, what would have been the headlines there? Right? Man goes in and throws a tantrum because he can't get a pizza and shoot someone. If the friends would have listened to him. Now, the second saddest part is that he allegedly says, this is the pizzas for my kids. And I want to say that I understood him. He said, go get my kids from the car. Is that he's using almost any type of reasoning in his mind, no matter how moronic, to get the pizza. I mean, many people watching this will be like, yeah, he's an idiot. I hope, rather, that's the vast majority of you. But what's sad here to see is that individuals like these don't understand, you know, that they're, one, really understand, right? Because they might say, I do understand. No, you don't. Clearly you don't. That there are consequences, right? That are sometimes can go further than just that moment. And it commonly happens because they want to be right. I've said it before in other videos. People want to be right so bad that they will do and say anything just to feel that they were proven right. Or maybe do everything to not be proven wrong. I don't know. However you want to see this. And it's, quite frankly, scary because we all have to live with these individuals. And now there's a lot of these individuals up and coming. Oh yeah, there's a lot of them right now being raised right now in households probably not far from where you live, in households that maybe you even know. I can tell you specifically that I know a few children from people that obviously I will, you know, leave unnamed, that it's a facepalm every single time I see parents trying, because that's what they're doing, trying to discipline their children. And they don't understand that if they, as a parent, as the authoritative figure right now in their life, the most important authoritative figure in their life, cannot control them with a simple, hey, calm down. Hey, go sit down. Hey, stop saying that. Why would you think that these individuals, these children, right, that eventually will be, you can kind of say individual thinking members of society. Somehow, I don't know how they're going to be that, but okay, let's play along. They're going to be that they're not going to end up on some viral clip. And if right now it's easy to get them on cell phone cameras, I mean, how easier do you think it's going to get for your children that right now you can hardly control for them not to end up on some viral clip? Now, the best that you can hope for is that they mature and they understand, and somehow, you know what, out of a miracle, they end up being actual working members of society. But if they don't, those are the individuals that we're all going to interact with. And I insist, right now, they're being raised. And right now, those are the kids that are going to end up like this. These two guys, first of all, the first guy, I don't know if he never had a dad or a mom or a guardian tell him, hey, you know what? Putting your hands on other people, not a good idea to do just because they disagree or they're doing something that annoy you. And I've seen plenty of people that will say, oh, that's annoying. Okay, well, that's fine. But then I've heard individuals say, man, I wish I can go, blah, 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 his ass. It's like, what? What'd you say? No, you cannot just do that. No, you cannot just go pummel someone. No, you just can't, wish this on people. Things that it blows my mind just because they disagree with you, just because you feel annoyed. I mean, who raised you? The other guy with the Superman shirt. Who is he raising? If it's true that his children were in the vehicle, and can you imagine who is he raising right now? It's very sad. It's very sad. And I honestly think that, it's going to be something that's going to unfortunately get worse progressively, unless individuals, hopefully maybe like me, maybe even like you, start spreading the word, at least among our families. All right, spreading that word of like, hey, I think you should do something about your child. I think he or she should respect you more. Because unfortunately, those are the individuals that I'm going to be growing up with. Those are the individuals that unfortunately my children are going to be growing up with, and my grandchildren. And yeah, you can't save the world, but you can certainly do something about your immediate circle, and that's where it starts, right? Yeah. So anyways, that's what I have for this story. So let's move on to the next story, which is the feminist movement in Mexico. Okay. So with this story, it's a bit more touchy than the previous topic. And that is because clearly there's going to be a big group of individuals that are going to say, what are you talking about? Don't even come near this topic because there's nothing wrong happening here. And obviously I would strongly disagree with that. So before I go, deep diving and getting people all upset, let me start by saying this. One, I cold-heartedly support women, and definitely support for, women to be treated equally, when it comes to at least comparing women with men. I support, that women should progress more, should be allowed, and allowed is a really, again, touchy word. But yes, for now, for the sake of the argument, allowed to be, to do as much, or hell, even more than men, by all means, right? I'm all for that. I am a father of two young ladies. One day will be young women. And of course, I want to see them, for them to accomplish whatever it is that they want to accomplish in their life. Okay. So that's out of the way. All right. Let's go into what I don't agree with the feminist movement. Now, if you haven't heard, Mexico, and in general, it has happened in many places in Mexico. In Tijuana, for instance, recently there was, landmarks defaced in light of the feminist movement, according to a borderreport.com article. And this is true, right? There was, for instance, a big known monument in Tijuana, very popular, by the way. It's the big ball thing that everybody calls it, right? El Centro Cultural in Mexico, that was, tagged, graffitied on by the feminist movement that was there. They were hosting a rally, a demonstration. Again, I don't know what word you want to pick with these demonstrators, protesters, whatever. They were saying, the movement, we want to bring light to what's happening to women because there has been a lot of death involving women in Mexico. That is true. It's very sad, extremely sad. Something must be done. I agree. But then the movement, decided to take it a step further. And, well, here are some of the pictures, right? Where they have graffitied all over this monument. Now, it's very sad because, it hasn't happened just in Tijuana. It has happened also recently as well, at least in the month of September, in Mexico City, where they took over a building. And, some of the art that was in that building was either burnt, was also tagged and, graffitied on, particularly paintings of men in history, or at least in Mexico's history, were painted on. There's literally a picture of a person, of an activist, writing all over the walls and painting rather, over these paintings, right? Now, of course, just like here in the U.S., we're going to have people say, well, yeah, they were doing that to paintings of men that have been bad in representing women or women's rights. Sure, that is true. That's what I've read and heard. Here's the thing, right? We're going to have videos pop up, like the one that recently came up of an older man, arguing, yelling back and forth with one of these feminist activists, saying, hey, there's people that fought for this to stand. I am one of them. And he was saying, how dare you? This also does a disservice to my child. I guess that he lost his child. And the feminist, the protester, activist, however you want to put it, was saying, yeah, but you're gonna care more about a wall. And honestly, I think that she's wrong. Ugh, yeah, I know. I'm going to say it. She's wrong because I don't know that this individual is saying, I care about that piece of wall more. It's what he feels it represents for him and for many other Mexicans, right? Because I saw a lot of support for him. It's sad because the individual, the protester, right, the activist, has great points, right? I'm sure she's very passionate, and she should be, as to why she is there, right? Trying to bring awareness to, a very touchy topic, right? A topic that needs to have more awareness. However, the way she's going on about it, and some of her members, is not seen like something that should be happening by people, spectating, right? This man included, right? He is essentially saying, hey, at the cost of us and what we believe, you want to bring light to whatever it is that, that you're saying that you need more awareness brought to. And honestly, I think the activist ends up losing momentum, or the movement in general actually ends up losing people that might support, their cause, even if they agree as to why the cause exists in the first place. It's a lot of what happens here in the U.S. as well, right? You have people that are in the BLM movement, the Black Lives Matter movement, who have phenomenal, great, truthful, factual points as to why we need to have more awareness in the areas of police brutality, blacks being oppressed, or minorities for that matter. But what happens a lot of the times is they lose momentum very quickly when they do things like go into restaurants and disturb or say literally out loud, F your comfort. And I have a whole other video that I've been planning on doing that, but it shows, that there are people that either A, want to get some type of attention, right? Or want to win an argument at all costs, which is why I opened up this video, this episode with the first two guys, right? But at any cost, They want to win the argument. They want to feel like they got the pizza, like that guy. No matter what, they can be on camera. They can be caught, documented doing a crime. Doesn't matter now. Now all eyes are on me, and now can I look dumb, right? And unfortunately, this was happening with some of these movements, the feminist movement in Mexico. Now, to get back to the other side and to get back to defending the movement, like I initially said, is, I believe that a big part of the problem that's happening in Mexico, or why has this even come about, is the machismo. Yeah, the machismo is a big problem in Mexico. Why? Because unfortunately, and I can speak to this because while I'm not a 70s or 60s babies, I am, someone that was born in 87 and have lived through a good chunk of the machismo before it was, put up on social media, where you were called a niña or a joto, or any of those disgusting words in Spanish, just to say you're lesser, right? You're a girl, you're lesser. And I think, to be fair, I know people will say, well, yeah, but don't people say that in English too? Yes, I understand that. But in my opinion, it feels almost like a lot of the world has tried to move forward and away from those terms, but it still exists and is very alive within Mexico. And again, obviously, the feminist group believes that, right? That women are less, that women can be used and are, disposable almost, and whenever you're done with one, move on to the next. Now, of course, this is a topic that more than 30 something minutes won't do justice to, because it's a very complex argument, right? I've heard everything from people, right, not just men, saying, well, yeah, man, but that's because women have allowed themselves to be objectified, particularly in the Mexican culture. You have things like La Zona Norte, right, in Tijuana. That is a very well-known location for men to, buy women, by the hour. And, it's one of those things that, people are going to say, man, in Mexico, many times, you have even novelas, right, that will objectify women, and women almost, run to that. So there's many angles to this, but it doesn't stop being a problem. It doesn't stop being something that I understand why feminists have come out and said, hey, this is what needs light. This is what we need to bring awareness to. So, again, I think in general, the movement stands for something that does need attention. However, I think also that you have many members of said movement that are doing a disservice to the movement, right? That are turning other possible supporters off, right? That they're pushing people away, defacing things that a lot of people hold dear to their heart, even if you think that's antiquated, even if you think, well, that doesn't hold value over a human life to you, right? If you see that video of the old man and the activist arguing, and you understand Spanish, and if you hear it a couple times like I did, you'll start understanding. At least if you really want to think critically, you'll put yourself on both sides and say, yeah, while I understand the activist, and you can be empathetic to what she is trying to stand for, I completely understand where the guy's coming from, right? Because look at him. The guy's at least well into his 50s, maybe even 60s, and has lived and, according to him, in some fashion, fought for that to stand. And for somebody that he probably feels, man, you're probably a quarter of my age, half my age at best, to come and just, tag it all up, burn it down like it was nothing, it becomes personal. And I think that's what happens when you have these big divisions among, people in general, not just, the culture, right? Because it's not always about a culture. Sometimes these divisions happen mainly in large age groups because of this, right? Because I don't think really stop to think, about what the other side really wants to say, because there's so much yelling. And then eventually there's violence, right? Because, again, people were not taught how to use their words properly. So anyways, that's it for today, guys. That's all that I have. I want to just, again, bring light to these topics, and hopefully you don't end up getting some kind of viral video, and, be more aware of your actions, have that, practice hyper awareness, at least as much as you can. We can all lose our temper. I'm not saying I never have, and I've told you guys that before, but I definitely try to practice what I preach. Self-awareness. All right. Thank you for watching. Remember, you can listen to the episode on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Radio Public, and then visit thejthshow.com to get some of those uncensored clips and other perks. See ya.